The Wizarding World franchise is one that is near and dear to my heart, specifically when it comes to the Harry Potter movies that make up the majority of this franchise. I grew up with the Harry Potter movies, as many people my age did, and it had a profound effect on me whether I was watching the movies or reading the books. The books in particular were my gateway into reading, and I'll always remember them for that. But also, Sorcerer's Stone, as far as I know, is the first movie I remember ever watching in a movie theater. I remember the ups and downs of this franchise. I remember the long wait for Half-Blood Prince, and the feeling I got watching the final two Harry Potter films in theaters. All memorable experiences. And let's not forget about the Fantastic Beasts movies, which will forever be overlooked because they are not the Harry Potter films. And despite only loving 2 of the 3 movies there, they are well worth watching. Several years ago, I embarked on a journey to review all the Harry Potter films, 1 per year, which then became 2 per year, and then I got to Deathly Hallows Part 1, and decided to completely redo all my previous reviews and spend a whole year revisiting them and giving more in-depth reviews on them. And now, here we are. It's been a year since we embarked on that journey, and I'm here to do one final video where we'll be ranking all 11 Wizarding World films worst to best. So sit back and let's look back on this massive franchise. Number 11. Of course, the worst film in the Wizarding World franchise was going to be Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. No matter how you put it, this film disappointed pretty much everyone, and since its release, I have attempted many times to defend it, and in many ways, I still do, because at the end of it, I don't think it's anywhere as bad as the rest of the world claims it to be. It has its moments. I like the performances and characters. I like the darker tone and the overall look of the film. My biggest problem comes from its cluttered mess of a story that can never decide on what it's actually about. There's so much plot and subplots, and on top of that, you have some pretty egregious uses of fan service, and you just end up with an incredibly messy movie that does a lot of disservice to its characters. It does, however, start with a bang with a great opening scene that's thrilling and tense, and the climax is pretty good as well. It's mostly the middle and the large exposition dumps that really bring this movie down for me, and why I rank it this low. Number 10. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is a good movie. I want to get that right out of the gate. But in terms of the Harry Potter films, it's also the most disappointing. And some of that comes from the book it's based on being my favorite one in the franchise. The book itself is a very bleak story with some of the darkest moments in the franchise. And how do they decide to adapt that? Well, by turning it into a romantic comedy, of course. The comedic moments are by far the worst part of this movie. It's just very awkward, and when the movie does get dark, those moments truly shine, and there's hints that if the movie had gotten to be the bleaker tale that its book counterpart was, this could have possibly been my favorite in this franchise. There's moments of brilliance throughout. Tom Felton is especially good, but it's a weird mix of battling tones that just doesn't work for the overall film. It's just inconsistent and disappointing, but there are moments that shine and make this movie worth watching. I just wish it was a more consistent watch. Number 9. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. I go back and forth on this film a lot as to if I love it or find it a bit of a slog at times. Deathly Hallows Part 1 has the upward battle of being the first half of a story, and so it's brought down in many ways by a lot of exposition, and it being a road movie changes the entire feel of the film as well, and that can be interesting. However, a lot of the journey is mostly meandering around from place to place until an important plot beat happens. When those plot beats do happen, though, the film is brilliant. It's dark and has a real sense of urgency and stakes. The Ministry of Magic sequence is one of my favorite set pieces in the franchise, and the entire climax through the woods and Malfoy Manor and the death of Dobby the house elf is fantastic to watch. It just has a meandering middle that can make the film a bit of a slow burn, but definitely not too interesting either. I go back and forth, and this movie's spot on this list is the only one I could say isn't 100% definite. But I can say the film's moving onward is where the franchise gets really good for me. Number 8. Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with this movie. Goblet of Fire is a great movie, and yet it still finds ways to frustrate me. The characters feel so weird at times, and they're overly angsty in the worst ways for me. And the entire first act of this film for me is a train wreck of weird pacing, strange transitions, and is perhaps too urgent in the way it delivers exposition, and yet the rest of the movie is thrilling and magical with great character moments, a fun mystery, and some of the most varied and fun action in this franchise, from Harry having to collect a golden egg from a dragon, to saving Ron from mer people, and then finally a giant maze. It's these moments that really make the film stand out, and it has, in my opinion, the best third act in the entire franchise. Voldemort's return is chilling, and the best Ralph Fiennes ended up being in the role. The ending is sad and leaves on this very somber tone that starts the full transition of this franchise into more mature territory. It's really just that first act and how the characters can really annoy me at times that holds this one back for me. Number 7. People might be shocked that Deathly Hallows Part 2 is in the very middle of this list, seeing as for most it's near the very top. I will admit this film is thrilling to watch. It's satisfying in some of the best ways and has some fan favorite moments. It's packed with great revelations, battle scenes, and overall great performances. And yet something about it just rubs me the wrong way when it comes to how it handles many of the big moments in the film. Deathly Hallows is filled with these very fan-servicey moments that are designed for a communal theatrical experience. It felt like moments littered throughout the MCU where the film starts winking at the audience to cheer and applaud, and it almost crosses into parody, from Molly Weasley killing Bellatrix and smiling at the camera, awaiting the audience to cheer, or Bellatrix shattering into a million cartoonish pieces. It just feels so weird compared to everything in the franchise that came before, and again, feels like moments that were designed for a theater rather than the story itself. However, the movie is paced so well. It has so many satisfying moments, and the end of the film and the closing of the franchise on that John Williams music makes it all worth it in the end for me. Number 6. Again, another one people might be surprised to see so low, but trust me, I really do love this one. Prisoner of Azkaban is where the Harry Potter franchise changes in a big way. Here, the colors become more muted, modern aesthetics are added, and focus on character in particular is stressed. I love the mood of Cuarón's film, and even with all the bleakness, it manages to still feel magical. It has great performances and brings in two of my favorite Harry Potter characters with Remus Lupin and Sirius Black. I love how Harry is challenged in this film and the relationship he develops with Sirius so quickly. I love Prisoner of Azkaban for its more personal story that focuses less on the narrative of the franchise and more on who the character of Harry is and who he will become. The final John Williams score is also fantastic, and though it's a stark contrast from the first two films' scores, it is memorable and hauntingly beautiful. This is a great one. I just wish it didn't end on the worst final shot in this franchise. Number 5. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them managed to bring back the magic of the franchise that I had been missing in previous entries, and I feel like comes the closest to recapturing the magical feeling of the earlier films. I love the introduction of characters like Newt and Jacob. I love the setting and the very simple story. For J.K. Rowling's first screenplay, I think she knocked it out of the park. And the film ends up feeling like the author's world truly coming to life. There's something much more whimsical in this film compared to the later Harry Potter films, which I love. I will die on this hill and sing the praises of this film, which I find very underrated when compared to the Harry Potter franchise as a whole. This was just a great starting point for a franchise. It's just disappointing that this franchise fell off for so many people almost instantly. Still, I think this one in particular is worth having another look at. It's magical with great character moments and reminds me of the first few Harry Potter films in the best ways. Number 4, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore fixed pretty much everything that plagued the second film, except for one thing, that being Newt Scamander becoming a footnote in his own film. That said, I think Secrets of Dumbledore brings fun and life back into this trilogy that was missing in the second one. It has, in my opinion, the best performances this franchise has seen and has one of the most satisfying third acts in the Wizarding World franchise. And when fan service is done this time around, it feels earned for the most part, instead of in your face. Eddie Redmayne, Dan Fogler, Jude Law, Mads Mikkelsen, and yes, even Ezra Miller give really great performances, and with the help of a more focused script written by J.K. Rowling and co-written by Steve Kloves, we have a film that's satisfying and bittersweet, because despite all the fixes to this film, it wasn't enough to save this film from stopping with 2 films that will never come out now. Number 3. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets always seems to be near the bottom of everyone's list, and I just don't know why. The first 2 films for me are where the franchise was at its best in the way it establishes the world, the cinematography, and the music. Yes, it is a nearly 3-hour film, but in that time you have mystery and intrigue, wonderfully fun moments, and just great casting overall. I love how it's subtly darker in terms of cinematography, and I wish this was the way the franchise had done it moving forward. There's something classic and magical about the first 2 films in the franchise that we lost as the franchise moved forward with different directors, bringing their own sensibilities to the franchise. Chris Columbus's direction is incredible, and a lot of love and care was clearly put into it. It's not flashy or anything, but has a feeling all its own. And that's lost as the franchise moved forward. The set pieces are wonderful, the music magical, and there's just a real sense of wonder in this film that makes me feel warm and snug every time I watch it. Number 2. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix is one of the least popular films in this franchise, but I love every moment of it. I've had a lot to say about David Yates as a director throughout the entire franchise, but this is by far his best directing because for once, he was doing something that was in his wheelhouse. They chose him specifically for this film due to the political nature of the story, and much of Yates's flaws as a director are his strengths in this film. Harry is alone, and so you feel that in the stark cinematography. There's a feeling of isolation that's perfectly executed. The one fighting is messy and tense, and the film provides the best villain that the franchise has ever had with Umbridge. It's just a very well executed film and has some of my favorite moments. They managed to make the longest book in the series and take it and strip it down to its core, and they made a very thrilling film out of it that will always rank as one of my favorites to watch. I think Order of the Phoenix is the first film in this franchise to really make the theme feel like an organic part of the film through music, acting, and shot choices. It's just perfect in my eyes. Number 1. Number 1 is, of course, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. No other film in this franchise is more magical than this film, from its warm colors and magical setting to the powerfully emotional music. Sorcerer's Stone, to me, is the definition of a classic. Everything is done with such class, and it feels like a grand epic. Everything is brought vividly to life and is just a great example of having all the right people involved at just the right time. It's a classic children's film and is the go-to example of what I think of when I think of this franchise. It's perfect in every way and I could spend so much more time talking about it, but if you want to know my full thoughts, just watch my review. And that is my ranking of all 11 Wizarding World films. It's been quite the journey, and I really love revisiting these films and falling in love with them, and also pointing out some of their flaws. I also wanted to do these films to give the Fantastic Beasts films their due as well. But also, it was my chance to really delve deep into why I love this franchise and the parts about it that make it all work. In the end, despite its flaws, I love this entire franchise, even with some films that can't reach the peak of others. It's an important part of who I am, and I'm glad I was able to share my thoughts with everyone. But how would you rank the Wizarding World franchise? Let me know, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and stay positive.